أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. ويا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. وبعد وقال الله تعالى في كتاب العزيز القرآن المجيد مالك يوم الدين وفي رواية أخرى مالك يوم الدين. Verily the praises for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him. We believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We put our trust in Him. We seek refuge for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evil of ourselves and from the evil consequences of our actions. That we should know that whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He guides, there's no mudil for Him, there's no one to misguide Him, there's no one to take Him off of this sirat al-mustaqim. However, whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He yudil, He causes him to go astray, He causes him to go deviate from this particular path, there's no hadi for him. There's no one to bring him back into right guidance. There's no one to show him the way after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has left him in this particular condition. I testify in my soul and before you that there's absolutely no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That He is alone without any partners. And I equally testify in my soul and before you that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the slave of Allah and the messenger of Allah. As is the custom of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to advise his companions. This is a part of his wasiyyah, his legacy to his ummah, to all of the people that would eventually believe in him, that on the day of JUMMAH, that they will be reminded to have taqwa in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To have taqwa in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a core attribute that many of the scholars from Islam, they say that this attribute in the Quran is paired with every other noble attribute. It is paired with iman, it is paired with ihsan, it is paired with sabr, it is paired with gratitude, it is paired with every noble trait. And Allah is constantly throughout the Quran mentioning this attribute of having ittaqah, having this ittaqah. Because sometimes we use the term taqwa as the term, but the terminology that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses in the Quran is the muttaqeen, is to have this ittaqah. This having this defense, building this defense against disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Building this defense against following your desires and being in a situation where you're being ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so taqwa is inclusive, it's more general, it has a greater significance for us in the life of the Muslim. And so Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though he was addressing his companions, he had his eye and his heart on the minds of those individuals that he had not yet met. And so in the gatherings, and him speaking to his companions, he would say to them, I cannot wait to meet my brothers. I cannot wait to meet my brothers. And that startled, that surprised the Sahaba. Because they said, aren't we your brothers? Because they understood the concept of ukhuwa Islamiyya, of the Islamic brotherhood. They understood that even though he was the Prophet of Allah, he was still their brother in deen. But the Prophet ﷺ gave them clarification. He said, no, you are my companions. My brothers, the ones who I'm not eager to meet, are those who will come after you. Those who will believe in me even though they have not seen me. But how many of us have that same desire? That same yearning, that same raghbah in our heart to meet the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent. To deliver this message that we all enjoy today. So that we can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sahih upon a correct way. How many of us think about that? With aspirations in Jannah, to talk with him and speak with him about the affairs that took place in his life, as opposed to what we have just read in the seerah. To have that direct communication with our messenger and our prophet. But even though some of us, it doesn't even come across our mind to have that type of love and yearning to even have that meeting. But 1400 some years ago, we had that desire to want to meet you, to want to meet me, to want to spend time with you and spend time with me. And sometimes in our chest, in our heart, we don't have that same love that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam he had for us, for him. So he reminds us about taqwa. To have this level of taqwa, that it manages your affairs, that it keeps you in a constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you understand the gravity of Allah's makan, of his position, with regards to himself and us. So the Prophet said, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have this awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is due. And don't be short in that. He's made certain promises about those individuals who have taqwa. That we have taqwa in him, and that we say يَقُولُ قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا, and we say a word that is straight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made promises for us, covenants. And we know as believers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's not like a man. The need for lying does not occur to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because people lie or tell the truth to either secure some type of benefit or to repulse some type of harm. And we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's above anybody benefiting him, and he's above anybody harming him. So therefore, the motivations and the means or the mechanisms that will produce a lie does not exist with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he says that he's going to do something, then we take it for face value that he's going to do something, and that is nothing to avert him from delivering on what he said. We trust that. To believe otherwise is to have a negative, what is it, su'ul dhan, is to have an evil opinion about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To ascribe to him that he's not going to deliver on the promises that he's made. Where he says over and over, Wallahu la yukhlifu al-mi'ad, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he doesn't break a covenant, he doesn't make a promise that is made. But if we have taqwa, we say a word that is directed towards the truth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ, that he'll forgive us our sins. And this is critical. This particular verse of having taqwa in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and those covenants that he's made, it is critical to our understanding of Surah Al-Fatiha. And anyone who knows me, we know that we try to stay within the confines of Surah Al-Fatiha. Because as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, and as Muhammad said in authentic hadith, that Surah Al-Fatiha is the Quran itself. Poor Quran al-Azim, that Surah Al-Fatiha is Quran al-Azim, that it is the great and powerful Quran itself. Because it is summation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commissioned every Muslim to learn these 7 verses, and He has commissioned them to say them in the salat, and He's commissioned them to have this summarized version of Quran in his head. These 7 verses, which is a testament of the greatness and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ilm, of his knowledge. That He was able to summarize and bring in short form all of the major aspects of Islam. All of the higher virtues and things that we as human beings, we need to have Surah Al-Fatiha in our minds understood, not just in our minds. It has to be pondered and reflected upon until the aspects of those verses are so clear in our mind that it affects our behavior. That it overflows in our speech. It becomes apparent in our actions. Just based upon the constant repetition of these verses. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you that you are required to recite these verses, these 7 verses, 6,000 times every year, we would have said, man, I'm not going to do that. Islam is too difficult. I'm never going to say these 7, I got to say this 7,000, 6,000 times every year as a Muslim. But Allah did it in such a way that it's effortless. By the performance of our prayer, those 17 rakats that we perform and we recite Surah Al-Fatiha, if you add that up throughout the whole year, 365 days, 360 days a year, it comes up to 6,000 and something and plus times that we recite Surah Al-Fatiha. But what in the hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what in his extreme, what they call hikmatun baligha, his far-reaching wisdom that He's required us to say these verses this many times? Is it just so as to pass upon our lips? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in His book that He's given us this Quran. That you have to double the ayat so that we can ponder His verses. What verses do you need to ponder more 6,000 times every year that you should not get it? You can't let a day go past without letting it come across your mind and come across your lips. What is the hikmah? Goes back to having taqwa. Had reference going back to having a remembrance and a reminder, because as human beings we forget. Al-insan is a part of our nature to forget. It is genetic. We don't talk about genetics and transference of certain characteristics from one generation, from one species to another, from a parent to a father, because Adam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He covenanted with Adam, and Adam nasi, that he forgot. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said that because Adam forgot, we forget. Because he forgot, we forget. This is called, if you study in genetics, you study in these types of things, bio, then you understand that there's a certain concept, even in Islam, that you can pass on certain traits to your children. Like Adam passed that trait of forgetfulness on to us. That he couldn't recall, he couldn't keep it in remembrance because Iblis was on him. Iblis caused him to forget. And as a result of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent down the dhikr, the Quran, something for us to bring us out of our what? Our forgetfulness, to counterbalance our natural innate disposition that we have as a genetic trait that we inherited and we acquired from our father Adam. He's given us something to counterbalance that, so that now we can stay from among the who? The dhakirin, the people who remember. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in a long verse, in Surah Al-Ahzab, when He talks about the Muslimin wa mu'minat, wa mu'minin wa mu'minat, wa qanitin wa qanitat. And He mentioned all of these, and He ended it up with who? وَذَاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَذَاكِرَاتٍ. That the individuals who remember Allah profusely, and the women who remember Allah profusely, Allah's prepared for them ajran azima. All of these other previous categories, they are subdivisions
of the people who are dhakirin wa dhakirat, of the people who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people who practice Islam, who implement the external apparent aspects of Islam, they are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In their prayer, in their siyam, in their sadaqah, in their hajj, in their zakat, all of these things. The individual who internalizes the belief system of Islam, he's a dhakir, he's a remembering of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When those things influence his behavior, this is all based upon taqwa. These verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us to recite over and over and over, and we take it as a trifling thing sometimes. Because we have not exercised our intellect into pondering over the meaning of these verses so that they can impact our thinking. The causes of depression is to constantly ponder over negative thinking, negative thoughts. And because of those negative thinkings and those negative thoughts, when they reach a certain pitch, a person can get into a situation where they can want to even kill themselves. You understand? Just by the proliferation of a certain type of negative thought. If you proliferate your thought upon khayr, upon good, and what is the ultimate good? Then to think about your Lord. To think about his bounty. To think about his attributes. To think about those blessings that he's bestowed upon you. To think about the meaning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When your thoughts are proliferated with these, they're mentioning the dhikr of even like the Prophet ﷺ said, I'm going to teach you something. That if you do it, it'll keep your passions and your desires in check. If you remember death, because it destroys your desires. If you proliferate the thinking about the meaning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the only way we can establish the meaning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that we have to pass through death. Taqwa is about that. And because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us in Surah Al-Fatiha, Maliki Yawmiddin, as one of those integral verses. Every verse in that surah is there for a reason. And it's arranged and it's positioned there for a reason. Because sometimes we don't have the counterbalance. Like the Nasara, they off balance. The Christians and the Jews, they off balance. Because you think about Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. You think about those attributes that endeared the human spirit to Allah. Thinking about his attributes of forgiveness, his attributes of mercy, his attributes of kindness, his attributes of love. And they stop right there. And it causes them not to evaluate the evil sometimes that come out of their behavior as a result of saying that Allah, yeah, he's going to forgive me for everything because Allah is Rahim. He's Ghafoor. He's Al-Ghafar. He's Al-Afu. We learn all of these attributes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's given us a balance. He said yes. He's all of those things. And those things have a dominance. But he says, Maliki Yawmiddin. This is a terrifying attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He didn't put it there to engender this concept about love. He put it there to incite the concept of fear in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fear in him. That he will be the only malik, the only ruler, the only dispenser of justice and compensation for what day? For the day that we're all headed for, whether we want to or not. This is the reality. And so we don't pay attention to Maliki Yawmiddin and what it requires from us in terms of contemplation. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَىٰ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for as for the one who feared standing, that he has this khawf, this deep innate fear in his heart, in his chest, that is exemplified on his limbs, in his thinking, on his tongue, in terms of what he says. He has this fear about the maqam, this place, as the Prophet said, Bayni Yadarab, that is between the two hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that each and every individual will have to stand between them and give an account for his life. The good that he did, the bad that he did. His prayers that he neglected. His fasting that he violated. His money that he didn't spend the right way, his money that he didn't earn the right way. All of these accountabilities, the way that you treated your wife, the way that you treated your husband, the way that you treated your children, the day of judgment is established to establish all of these things, and there's no escaping it. The accountability of Allah, He's El-Hasib. Every single individual has a scroll, has a record, has a document that will be irrefutable, uncontestable. That every soul, you, myself, will have to acknowledge the horrors that is inside of that tablet, those scrolls. That's going to be unleashed on the day of judgment for us to be held accountable for. We can play if we want. The day of judgment we can't avert it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and fear, have taqwa for a day in which you're going to be turned back to Allah. This goes back to Maliki Yawmuddin. So that we never forget it. Because the human mind, the intellect, our hearts, our desires, if we don't reflect upon Surah Al-Fatiha and that there's an accountability for what we do, we can go off. We can forget. But out of the kindness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His look, out of His gentleness towards His creatures, He's required us to say Maliki Yawmuddin so we will never forget the fact that we're not here forever. That we're here for a purpose. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That I didn't create jinn and mankind except that they worship me. This is why you're here. And Maliki Yawmuddin is a reminder so that you don't forget it. So that I don't forget it. So there's a constant weighing on our intellect, on our mind, on our thought process, that when we recite Surah Al-Fatiha, that we never forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Maliki Yawmuddin, and we can't escape it. No matter how long we live. The advances in science, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if they was to live 1,000 years, they're still going to die. Because the human being cannot overcome the disease of death. The death in Islamic concept is a disease that's innate in the body. That human, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has not sent down the ilm of how to alleviate that, how to get rid of it. That particular disease that nurtures and festers in our body. That when it's our time to clock out, you got to clock out. I don't care if you eat well, you sleep well, you drink well, you have to clock out. You and I have to check out. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't reverse your engineering. You can't reverse your biology, even though they're trying. The kuffar, they're trying. They want to. They're thinking about it. They're in the lab. They're trying to understand the genetics, the DNA, how it's structured, and what causes the decay in the human being. So they're trying to reverse that process. They will never achieve it. They will never achieve it. It has not been written for them. They have a better opportunity of curing AIDS. They have a better opportunity of curing cancers and other types of diseases inside the human body than to cure the disease of death. And when we understand that, then Maliki Yawmuddin has another reality for us. Now we have to prepare. We have to try to make ourselves prepared for the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what the Prophet says, Al-Qais. The individual who's smart, all of us in here, every one of you in here, because you are in here, you have a certain level of intelligence. Otherwise, you would not be here under the curriculum of this institution. You would not be professors and teachers in this institution if you didn't have a certain level and standard and measure of intellect. But the Prophet said, Al-Qais. Man dana nafsa wasta'adda lima ba'da al-maut. That the intelligent individual is the one who controls himself, who disciplines himself and prepares for what is after death. This is the reality. You can use your intellect and become billionaires. You can take the education and understand the concepts of metaphysics and all of these type of things and become wealthy in this life. The wealth that you earn the status that you attain, the status is fleeting. The wealth you obtain, the portion of it that really belongs to you in reality is the portion that the sodas and the waters that you buy and drink. The chicken and the beef and the shawarmas and all of the stuff that you eat and then you get rid of. The clothes that we have on now, this is our portion. But when we take them off, that's not our portion anymore. Because at the moment we die, it belongs to somebody else. Along with the millions of dollars that we acquired inside of our bank accounts, it belongs to somebody else. And they may benefit from it, and it may cause us a source of major grief with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we did not care about how we earned it. We neglected, we forgot that the day of judgment was coming. Maliki Yawm al-Din is not a small concept in Surah Al-Fatiha. It encompasses the whole nature of the religion. Allah establishes many arguments to establish that the day of judgment is a reality, it's coming. We cannot stop it. That nobody can frustrate and make Allah ajiz, incapable, whether they're in the earth or whether they're in the heavens. No one can inhibit him. This is the reality. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a man. Reminding us of this particular greatness of his. When he's described himself as Maliki Yawm al-Din. In the most excellent expression, the most excellent verse to come after Maliki Yawm al-Din is Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. We don't understand the gravity and the surge of the mindset of the individual who ponders upon Maliki Yawm al-Din and then has to say, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. My Lord, I'm getting myself together. I'm getting myself right. This path that you've identified for me, I'm going to follow it. It's a commitment. It is an i'tiraf. It is an acknowledgement that the day of judgment is coming. So I need to perform what? Ibadah. Iyyaka na'budu. The scholars say Iyyaka coming before the verb means hustle. It means restriction. That everything that emanates from me in terms of what I do, what I think, what I say, I'm doing it as an act of ibadah, an act of qurba, an act of getting near to you. This is Iyyaka na'budu. Because ibadah, some of the scholars they say, ismun jam' kulli ma yuhibbuhu Allah wa yardah min al-a'mal wa min al-aqwal wa af'al zahir wa batin. Then they say that ibadah, in terms of what it means, is a comprehensive term for everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and is pleased with. Whether it's a statement that you make, or whether it's an action that you do, whether that action is internal, whether that action is external, that we're doing this all for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says when he mentioned about Ibrahim, وَإِذْ قَالَ لِرَبُّهُ لَهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Ibrahim, submit. He said, I submit to the Lord of the worlds. That means everything that comes from me, I'm doing it as an act of ibadah for you. In preparation for this day. And if we forget that, then we in trouble. If we forget that, then we lost. We can't rely solely on our degrees. We have to take into consideration that the day of judgment is coming, and there will be no way to barter yourself out of the impending horrors of the day of judgment other than trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this life. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. I wanted to talk about something else, but I got tied into this particular topic because the day of judgment, it has certain alamat, it has certain signs. Maliki Yawm al-Din, the day of judgment, has certain signs. And just a brief mention before we make the salah. And this is about the Dajjal. That we have to study his characteristics. We have to study the conditions of the world that's going to take place in order that will produce him. That will make the things that the Prophet ﷺ said about him so persuasive, so attractive. We already know that he's going to have kufr or kafir written on his forehead that the believers will be able to recognize. But prior to his evolving and prior to his emerging, The Prophet ﷺ said that there will be a level of famine in the earth, a type of global famine on the earth. And the way to survive that is to have dhikr of Allah, to say subhanallah, to say alhamdulillah, to say la ilaha illallah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will use it as a source of nurturing and sustenance for you. But if we don't understand that, and we're not in the custom and the habit of doing that, we may be overtaken. So that when it comes to a nation or to a tribe or to a town and say, believe in me, and they reject, he says, tell the earth, seek, destroy your herbs, cause it to wither away. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him the command to do that. And when the other nations see that people that disbelieve, they was left into greater starvation. You will see people, throngs and throngs of people believing in the Dajjal. Because he'll have the command to command the sky to rain. You understand the whole power and the concept of this deprivation of water. And after in certain places of Africa, you know, the animals, they migrate for long distances in search of water. And imagine, you can be disbelieve in the Dajjal, and he can cause your whole water system to disappear. And this is a part of the qudrah, this is a part of the power that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him over the creation to test the human being. And this trial is so great and so severe that the Prophet ﷺ said, for the people who endure that particular trial, the fitna in the grave, they had passed. They don't get questioned in the grave. They don't get questioned in the grave if they pass the trial of the death. This is how serious it is. Everybody who does not live to his time and they die, they go through the fitna of the grave. They are confronted with that. They have not been given any relief from that, any pardon from that. We have to go back to those books and we have to study these realities. Because these things we live in them, we thinking that they fall off down the line years and years and years. In the moment when we start thinking that, the trial comes. When we become neglectful. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us fortitude to reflect and ponder over these ayat of Surah Al-Fatiha. That he makes us understand the true realities, Maliki Yawmuddin, to study those verses in relationship to the Quran. And so that they can affect our thinking and our behavior. Hakim.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.